Hello, troopers! Welcome back to the Five First Common Chatter. I'm Will,
And I'm Chloe.
and we are back with another episode. We know it's a little bit later than normal, but I've been off to Scariff for a week, so enjoying the the sun and the sea. And yes, it was a wonderful time. Thank you. But we're back. We're ready to go. Got another Acolyte episode breakdown for you. Two more after this. We have next week's, which is the penultimate episode, and then the following week, the following one. But that's probably going to be on a different day because we're a little bit busy on the 18th. Maybe it's something we've mentioned before, but you never know. It's when we're meeting Kevin. So
yes, we are doing an interview with Kevin Scott, who has written many High Republic novels, and he's a very cool person. And this is like a really big guest that we're having on. So you guys tune in for that in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
And so it won't be like our regular sort of live stream. It will be a different sort of video.
It'll be like a video interview, and but it's not going to go out on the same day because we're going to film it, edit it, and But we are doing that in a couple of weeks, so I'm very excited for that.
Yes.
I know you are as well.
Our episode breakdown for the finale will be a little bit later, just because.
Yes, it'll probably be on like a Friday or Saturday or something. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm loving the show. This episode again was really good. Really liked it. Some of the little subtle details in it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Personal news though. I got a new t-shirt.
You did.
I will admit, okay, I basically have got this t-shirt for when I meet Kevin because I thought it was really cool. And anyway, I wanted a High Republic t-shirt because I love the High Republic. So you could get this in like multiple colors, but I thought white with the like gold is High Republic, Yes. So I have gone for a wonderful Stellan Geos for Light and Life t-shirt. I think it's brilliant. I think it looks really cool. So yeah, that is my new High Republic t-shirt.
Yeah.
And you're going to be getting the High Republic logo one as well.
So we'll both have High Republic t-shirts for Kevin.
Can't wait. It's going to be good.
Yeah, we love High Republic.
Yeah. So that's going to be fun.
Also, thought I'd just point out, in case you hear a fan in the background, we're having another heat wave here in the UK, so it's very hot.
I've brought the Scariff heat back with me, so it's all good.
So that little hum in the background is just a little fan going. Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, so we got plenty of news.
There was a lot that got released this week, actually.
Yes, we haven't got photos of them. We'll show them next week. But they have released Hot Toys for Clone Wars 5s and Echo.
Yes, which they look really good. We'll show you pictures next week of those.
Yes, they're going to look good. Can't wait for those ones. It will be fun.
Yeah.
We've got some Funkos, quite a lot of Funkos. So before we get into the ones we've got photos of, they have released rumored San Diego Comic-Con. So we've already mentioned the Darth Vader, like Rogue One lighting, which, to be honest, I might get because I think the lighting on it looks really good. So there's that one, and there's also supposedly a Thrawn.
Yes, Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Yes. Not sure about this. Obviously, they're all rumored, so we don't know if we're actually getting it because we haven't seen like any photos, official and stuff like that.
Yeah. But once they do release the official photos, then we will show you guys.
Yes. But that'd be quite cool. But I quite like the Thrawn that I've got. I know it's from Rebels, but like the pose is very Thrawn, and I think he looks really cool. So
yeah. I agree. I really like your Thrawn, but I don't know what Thrawn this will be from. Like whether it will be Ahsoka Thrawn, or if it will be Rebels Grand Admiral
we've already
Thrawn.
got.
Or
Ahsoka.
Is it gonna be Thrawn from the books?
Could be, or it could be Tales of the Empire film.
Mm.
But then that's
But
Admiral
he's-
Thrawn.
Yeah, it's not Grand.
But bit of a weird one. But yeah,
Mm.
let's see what happens with that. Lego news. We haven't got
Yes.
photos of it, but
There's
very
lots
exciting.
of rumored sets, isn't there?
Yes, and there has been leaked, or again rumored, but they're leaked. First images of a skeleton crew set showing the ship and the characters, and it's like we've had a leak of the like little metal ingot, whatever.
Yeah.
We've got a Lego leak of the set. When are we actually going to see something from
Yeah.
the skeleton crew? Like,
It's like we're seeing the products before the show's even been like
I know.
trailers or anything.
When are we going to get it?
Yeah.
Someday, hopefully.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's been released. There's I think this is official now, the pictures. The Sarlacc pit from Return of the Jedi
Yeah.
with like Boba, Luke.
And the little like what's it called? Like sail barge?
The the little play set one.
Yeah.
So
But it does look really good. And I think it's the same Boba from the mech set.
I'd one that we've got.
I think. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, he looks like a really good Boba. So yeah. I really like that set.
Yep. So
It's good.
cool. Yeah, there's a couple still to keep an eye out.
I think
for
it's
and
about
come out.
£70 that set though, which is quite a lot.
Oh.
But you are getting the Sarlacc, and there's quite a lot of minifigs as well. There's like Lando and his like disguise.
I think there's Lando,
There's
Luke,
Luke,
Boba,
Boba.
Weekrey, and I think you get like a Chewie and a Han or
Yeah.
something. So there's quite a lot.
There's a lot.
Yeah. So that's those. So this is official stuff now. Now, when you showed me these, I wasn't a fan of these ones, to be fair. I will admit. So these are Funkos, but they're like Star Wars Holiday.
They're classed as like holiday ornaments, so I think they're kind of like gnomes and gonks, that sort of thing, but it's a Funko. So they don't look like regular Funkos because they look a bit chunkier and like they're kind of shiny and like porcelain sort of little figure. Sort of.
Well, they're still on the box says bobblehead, so
okay.
they're still like a Funko. But I'll be honest, I don't like the look of these two that they've announced. Like,
yeah, they look a bit more sort of cartoony, I'd say.
Yeah, like this one doesn't look bad, but then when you like look at this Mando one, like you look at his arms and it's just like I don't like it. But hey, if you're into the the like holiday one, again, I don't really class it as a holiday. Again, like you said, it's more of like an ornament looking one because they've actually made like Christmas Funkos, like the Boba Fett as the snowman, Darth Vader as the snowman, and But yeah, these ones normally I get quite excited for Funkos, but not these ones, sadly. So we have the comic book, like comic looking Darth Vader. Looks quite cool. Comes with obviously the comic background. I've got a Luke like in this style with like the sort of comic look. Quite a cool Funko, to be fair.
Yeah, but he doesn't come in like the big box. He's
no,
just a regular,
mine is just a regular, but
Funko.
this is obviously the one with the background, which again looks quite cool if you want to display them like this. So
I've seen they do like a Boba Fett one like this, but my problem with these ones is like you can't get out the Funko because it's just in a box.
Yep.
Like a hard plastic box. Funko do a lot of these with like album covers and stuff as well. But obviously if you have the space to have these on shelf, then if comic books are your thing, then that's really cool. But personally, I prefer the Funkos where it's just like you can take them out of the box and just put them on the shelf, and they're just like smaller.
I think
whereas
again,
this you have to display all of it.
Yeah, I mean they might end up making a smaller version because sometimes they do with some of the Funko like ones like that. But if they don't, still quite cool.
Yeah.
So we've got this sort of Halloween.
So this one's a jumbo size pop
Yes,
of Darth Vader holding pumpkins.
and it does, as you can tell, it glows in the dark as well.
Yeah.
So it is quite cool.
I don't think it's glowing in the dark.
No, it is.
It's a sound and lights one. So you put batteries in it and it lights up.
That would explain why it looks so bright.
Yeah.
But
but in the night, like if you had this, because it's a jumbo size one, you could like put it on your front porch or something with trick-or-treaters, and then like imagine how cool this would look in the dark, like glowing up with little pumpkins and
it is
his
quite
eyes.
cool.
Yeah.
I
think it's cool.
Yeah.
I love Darth Vader and I love Halloween, and I think this.
Good little combo.
Yeah, this is cool. And I mean, I didn't think they'd make anything like Darth Vader Halloween, but you know, it's cool.
We have, so this one you sent me, this was basically a reveal of a load of dark side Funkos.
Yeah,
So
these ones, I think they're Amazon exclusives, but I couldn't seem to find them on Amazon, so I don't think they've officially been released yet. I think these are just leaks, but it's basically like a bunch of dark side ones that are going to be Amazon exclusives. So there's like a pack of 3, I think, with Dooku, Palpatine, and Maul. And then we've got a jumbo sized Palpatine with the lightning coming out his hands, and he's got like the Sith eyes. Then we've got Kylo with his granddad's helmet.
Yep.
Vader's helmet.
But that one is from Rise of Skywalker because he's got the helmet sort of patched together.
Yeah.
So I think this is in the bit where like he destroys it, like with Rey. And then we got a Vader on his throne in Mustafar.
Yes.
And we have Vader in his TIE Advanced fighter. So
it's like a pop ride, that one, I think.
Yeah, it's quite cool then.
Yeah.
There's none there that like I really want to get. I do want. There is a Clone Wars Darth Maul that I quite like. And maybe a Count Dooku might be quite cool someday. But I mean, I will admit, I think as a free, if you didn't have any of those, it would be quite a cool set to get.
Yeah.
Like that Palpatine with the lightning, where he's like unlimited power, is an iconic one. You know, but I think I've got really with him in the throne though. I think it's quite cool because it's obviously like when we first see Palpatine, you know. So quite cool.
Yeah.
So we have some of these little figures. I don't know what we call these ones because
they're like the Hasbro sort of kids line. They're like 4+, so they're similar to like the retro figures, to be honest, but they're not. Because they haven't got like the boxed sort of like leg area. But they're not as detailed as the vintage collection or Black Series. But they still look cool. But they're just like a less expensive version, and they're more aimed at like little kids rather than collectors, you know.
Yeah. So we got Darth Maul. Here he is outside of the box. We have a Boba
Fett. And he got a little well, it's not little, it's a very big jetpack.
He's got a massive jetpack.
With a big rocket in it.
That is a massive jetpack right there.
Yeah.
That'll take your eye out.
It would, yeah.
We have a Moff Gideon as well. So there's quite a few of these.
Electro stuff.
Yeah, there's quite a few of these like figures out and about now. So
does it have I thought you had the dark saber on the box then, but it is his electro stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know it's cool though.
It does. So yeah, that's really it for the figures. Yeah, again, like I said, there's been some nice Funko releases. hopefully they do some more. We still want a wave 2 of the Acolyte Funkos.
Yeah.
I want
And
to
I really
start
want
ordering.
Bad Batch season 3 as well. This surprises me how Bad Batch season 3 finished like quite a few weeks ago now, and it's like there's still no Funkos from it. There's still no Lego sets.
This is the thing with season 2 of the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
They didn't make any,
I don't know what's up with that. Like, did it not
little Funko
go
with
as
Baby
well?
Bone.
Yeah, they could have done that. They could have done Scorch. They could have done.
They need to do a Scorch because I've got 2 Republic Commandos. I'm looking at them right now. We need the rest of them.
Yeah.
This is the perfect way to do Scorch.
They should, yeah. And also, so they released because you've got the Hunter, haven't you? The Hunter from season 1, but they changed armor, so they need to do season 2 armor, and then maybe the stripped armor as well of all of the Bad Batch, because that'd be really cool. Yeah. But sadly, they haven't.
I know. Even Lego, they haven't done any.
I know, because the same thing with Lego. We had season 1 armor of all of them, and we didn't even get season 1 armor of Crosshair because he's in his Imperial armor.
Mm-hmm.
So we need Crosshair in the Bad Batch armor, and we need the rest of them in their season 2 armor because that'd be really cool.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Who knows? And hopefully Acolyte Lego as well. That'd be quite cool.
Ooh, yes. That would be cool.
Hope you're listening, guys.
It makes me wonder how they do Vanestra's light whip in Lego. Would they use like a little Indiana Jones whip and make it purple?
Do you know what? They might.
That would be funny. Because they do reuse funny little props from other sets in Star Wars sets.
Well, it's like the little Millennium Falcon here. We've got
it's like soda cans.
Little can lids. On the side of it. So,
yeah.
But yeah, that's things we can hope for.
And there's other sets that I've built as well that aren't Star Wars, and they've got the little lightsaber hilt bit, but they'll make it as the top of a pan or something, and it's this is a lightsaber.
It's definitely a lightsaber.
Yeah. It's very cool.
Speaking of lightsabers, we have some released concept art of some of the lightsabers for the Acolyte.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, these ones didn't make it into the show. But what I find really interesting is the concept art for these lightsabers that we have here, especially the Jedi ones, are very much High Republic inspired lightsabers, so very classy. So this one was meant to be, was a concept for Indara, sorry. So we've got as you can see here, holster thing, activation button, but it's very gold. This little metal black bit here is quite an interesting, never seen this. It's like flowers almost. So it's a very decorated lightsaber, and here they almost looked at having this weird little sort of thing on it, underneath it. So it's like a grip, I don't know, but again,
that does look really nice, to be fair.
So, but obviously you understand why they went for the basic battle ones and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's like if they put a lightsaber into Downton Abbey Castle or something, it's very fancy,
how the lightsabers should be. This is just a Jedi Master lightsaber.
Well, that looks cool. It's kind of
it's 3-in-1 almost, isn't it?
It looks like it should be a crossguard, but then there's 3 blades coming out of it.
Yeah. So again, you can see why
it's if Wolverine had a lightsaber, that would be what
That's an interesting thing. So, as you can see, some of the things here, again, you can probably see why they decided not to go for this one, because it's they'd be how can you have 3 lightsabers in one, and
But it is something they haven't done though, something new. Obviously,
again,
this season they've got Vanestra's light whip, which obviously has been in Legends and stuff before, but I didn't know about it until now, and now obviously I'm learning more about them in Legends and stuff. But then you've got obviously the standard lightsaber, then they brought like the shorter one that Ahsoka and Yoda and everyone had, and then Kylo Ren had his like
Crossguard.
sort of crossguard one, and then there's lots of different ones in the Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor and stuff, and now we've got High Republic, and
I just think, yeah, no, I mean, I get it. It is quite cool, but I think that would be a bit like weird seeing that,
Yeah.
because it'd be like,
true.
why don't you just have one big blade instead of having like 3 little ones?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
Again, I do like the whole sort of gold accent on it. You know, it looks very nice.
Yeah.
This is very weird. So this is concept art for the Sith lightsaber. Again, the end of it is very unique. You know, this sort of black, charred, like rock sort of substance that, you know, the blade would sort of come out with, and then it's got this like weird handle, like grip in it.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
It definitely looks like Dark Side Hill.
And I could see how this would go with sort of Qimir's helmet, you know, because it's got that sort of rugged look to it.
Yeah, it almost looks like a rusty thing that's been sprayed black. In the end.
And we got this another concept for the Sith one, and it was like this sort of weird looking, like grooved rock.
I don't really like this one. To me, it looks like a little worm or something.
Yeah.
Like a little caterpillar on the end of your lightsaber.
And you can see that they've done like where you can sort of separate it and what it looks like together. And again, like I said, it's concept art, and I think the one that they've gone for, I think, looks really nice. It's just sort of like a lightsaber normally, but you know, with like
the black.
with a black on it, and I think it looks quite nice. So, should we get into today's episode?
Yes.
Okay. So, going to start us off with this lovely picture here. So, we actually, from Star Wars itself, has we know what these creatures are called. They are called. Oh, sorry. Before we get into this episode, because I know I'm going to forget, because we meant to mention it last week, but during like 2 scenes in episode 5, especially the last scene where we see Qimir like putting the jacket on Osha, we hear Kylo Ren's theme.
We do.
And it's definitely Kylo Ren. So
and I didn't realise when we watched it, but now I've watched it back and everyone's talking about it, and I'm like, that's definitely Kylo Ren's theme.
Yep. So there's all of a sudden there's rumours that is Qimir the first Ren
of the Knights of Ren.
You believe it. I don't. I think he's a out and out Sith. But yeah, that's my opinion.
But I mean, it would explain why there is Kylo Ren's music, though, wouldn't it?
Yes, but
and
then
his helmet is very similar to Kylo's, with like the little bit that goes out on the bottom. I don't know.
I get it.
I'm keeping my options open, but I'm saying it could be a possibility.
Well, I think he's just a Sith, and I think that.
I think they just used the music because it was cool.
But I think it also, because it's what it does, it teases you, and all of a sudden everyone's like, "Oh my God, Qimir is not a Sith; he's a Ren." It's like misleading, you know, cleverly done. But so going on to these episodes, these little creatures, these little cute things, are called Skurras. So they're part anteater, part duck.
They do kind of look like a little duck, like a little birdie there playing with the rocks, and their sort of grey skin makes them blend into the rocks as well. So they may not be, easy to hunt or whatever by their predators.
And they look very similar to the creatures we see on that toe.
Their nose, definitely.
Yeah. We also see in this episode, this planet is called Unknown Planet. Now, for some reason, they have decided to not reveal that information. And I think they will at some point, just not yet. So I think what they're going to do in like a future episode or something, the unknown planet will change into what it is.
Ooh, it might.
So
It's a good shout.
we can confirm it is not Acto. A lot of people think it's Acto. It is not Acto. The rumor is that it's a planet called Baldemnik. Is that right? Yeah. And this makes a lot of sense to me if it is. So Baldemnik was in the old Clone Wars animation, the like 2D one. Again, that's not canon now, but it was in there. And it was also in the Plagueis novel. And through other media, we learn that this planet, Baldemnik, is connected to Tenebrous, who was Plagueis' master, and Darth Plagueis, because
the cortosis.
There is a cortosis sort of strain or, like mine on it. And again, going into what happens in the episode later and what we see, this makes the most sense to me, that this is Baldemnik. And I think
it is.
Yeah, like I said, I think at some point they're going to reveal that it's Baldemnik, but they don't want to reveal that information just yet. So, but interesting. So we start the episode with Osha waking up again. And again, she's like in a cave, so obviously Qimir has taken her to this planet. And as she sits up, the camera goes with her, like it did in episode 1, where she woke up on the
where we
ship.
were introduced to her.
Yeah. Very interesting, Could it be that we're seeing Osha waking up as a, because this is obviously what happens in this episode. It's probably going to change her in the future, which I hope it doesn't, but I think it will. And we get a really good look at the cave that she's been sort of set up in. We see that there's like a little pool in there. We see like little bits and bobs on tables just all around, So
yeah, it's a bit weird. There's like little bottles, and I was thinking, is it Qimir's like night lotion?
I mean, I don't want to say it, but his skin does look absolutely incredible and very
it's like his
soft.
Shampoo and conditioner.
Yeah, he's clearly living well. I want to point out as well similarities to what we see later in the episode as well. But he's very much living like Yoda on Dagobah. So where we see him and like Yoda's in like a little hut making stew, we see later Qimir making like a sort of a stew in a cave. Both sort of like hermit lives. We also see that their characters were very similar. How he played the dumb fool, like Yoda did when we first met him. But now that Qimir's sort of mask has been sort of lifted, shall we say?
Yeah.
It is now we see Qimir as he is properly, as a Sith. And we also see that we see Osha sort of lift her top and look at the wound. Now, I said it last episode, and a lot of us all thought it, that Qimir force healed her. But what we can clearly see from this episode, he hasn't force healed her. He hasn't used, because
she's still bleeding.
She's got bandaged on it, but there is blood, sort of So he hasn't force healed her.
No.
And again, I think that's quite good that they showed that point, because a lot of people were like, you can't really have a Sith using force heal, it doesn't work. And this episode has just proved he didn't force heal her. So we see sort of May Osha get up and she sort of picks up like one of the knives that falls out of
Oh yeah, it's like one of May's nice.
Yeah. And we see that obviously her clothes are all there as well, May's clothes. So she puts on like like top and all that. And then she sort of goes outside, and that's when it then comes out saying unknown planet. But again, it looks very much like Acto, and it's meant to.
You can see why people were saying Acto, but there's multiple planets that look similar in Star Wars, and I think all of the thing on this other planet where the Cortosis is, like, it makes the most sense to me. How that, like, later on in the episode we do see like this kind of metal or almost like in the wall, and
It's like a vein of it,
yeah,
isn't it?
and it's like, wow, that looks like Cortosis. That looks like his helmet. So that makes sense to me. But we can see why people are saying Acto, but I don't think it is.
No. And then she sort of goes out and looks at like the rocks and the planet, and then she notices Qimir walking off. Yeah. So she follows, and if you don't think he knows she's like watching him and following him, you are very mistaken. This guy knows he knows what he's doing. So obviously we see him go to this like sort of wading pool bit. Looks quite nice actually, quite relaxing.
Yeah.
And he sort of puts his stuff down, disrobes.
Makes me want to go swimming.
Yeah, we'll find this planet. Sort of disrobes, goes into the pool. And again, you can sort of see on his face that, like, he's left everything there for a reason. He knows that, she's paying attention.
She's gonna pick it up.
Yeah. So she goes over.
You can see like these scars on his back as well.
Yes, we get a good shot of the scar. I don't know if I got a picture of it. No. Later in the figure. But we see when he takes his top off that there is a weird scar. Mm-hmm. I have a theory about it. I had this theory as soon as I watched the episode, but then I've seen other people basically saying the same thing. So I was like, okay, I think I'm onto something. Again, I've got to give a shout out to Manny's performance. I think Manny is like him as Qimir and as this Sith. I think he's one hell of a character. Like, you might not like him, but everything that he says and does, is what you expect from a Sith, and this is what we see in this episode. He basically seduces Osha to the darkness, which the dark side does. That's why it's easier to follow the dark side than be in the light.
Yeah.
So we see Osha make her way over to his stuff. Mm-hmm. And she picks up the lightsaber, and he's
not even looking at her. He can sense that she has done it.
Yeah, and he's like, "It feels good, doesn't it?" And then immediately she goes into like a position, like a defensive position, and he's like, "Feels good, doesn't it, to hold one again?" And then he says, "You probably had to get rid of yours when you left the Order." And then he's like slowly swimming over to her.
He's like giving her advice.
Exactly. He's like straight away. He's like,
you need to hold your elbow a bit higher.
Lift your back elbow up a bit higher. It leads for like better defense, or like
So she does it.
Yeah. And then again, Manny being the really good actor in this like scene and episode, he's like, if you're not going to join me, can I at least put my clothes on, sort of thing, Mm-hmm. And even as he sort of comes out and he starts like dressing again, he's talking to her about, like, you're thinking right now, is it right to attack me, right? Like this, because I'm unarmed, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And, she's like, how are you reading my thoughts? And he's like, I'm not. That your thoughts betray you, because obviously we see people like Vader say this, like, no, Luke, sorry, say it to Vader, where he's like, your thoughts betray you, Father. So obviously he can sense what she's thinking. And then obviously a lot of people are going to like this Manny shirtless scene.
Probably, yeah.
And I can't remember the quote exactly, but the audio description for this scene makes it very, shall we say, 50 Shades-esque, mentioning about how muscly his back looks. Hey, you know, some people are going to get into that. And again, you know, when he comes out of the water, he doesn't go back into all black. He goes into
Light colours.
Yeah.
Which is strange because usually the colour of their clothes sort of symbolise the good side or the bad side, and usually good side people wear light colours. And now he's in light colours, and Osha's there in dark maize clothes.
Yeah. But another point onto that, what you've just said.
Yes.
His home, his like little cave, is quite homely, quite cozy. It's not very
Sith.
Darth Vader like black Sith like, you know. So it's very interesting that they're showing him in this light, shall we say, you know. So, but again, shout out to Manny. I think Manny had a really good role in this like series episode. Yeah, and then we go to
Master Soul.
Yeah, and we see the ship leave Kofar, and he radios into the Jedi Temple, and he's like, I can't remember what code he says, but it's like emergency code. But we can see that the signal itself is very like interrupted, jagged, don't really know what's being said. And then he says, my whole team was, and then he like stops. And it's like, why is he stopping? Like, why isn't he just saying his team was attacked? Like, he says like his team was stops, and then he's like really thinking about it, and then he's like, my team's all dead. Like, yeah, and it's like, okay, this is a bit deep. And then the sort of transmission cuts out completely. And we see sort of
May dressed as Osha.
Yeah, it's going to get confusing. We see her like she's in the like main bit of the ship, and we hear the scene of when she got tested by Indara. So we hear Indara explain, May, I want you to tell me on what images appear to you on the screen. Yeah. And
because she's also been here before.
Yeah, and we hear May then say, what have I got to do? Like, as if it was like the other way round, which was quite interesting. Because it was almost meant to be like May being like, what have I got to do? And then Indara being like, you got to tell me what's on the ship. But they do it the other way, which was interesting. And we see
it's kind of like a Force echo, isn't it?
A little bit, but like
it's like she's replaying a memory in her head.
Yeah. So it's not. I wouldn't call this a Force echo. I would call this more. She's reliving a memory of being in this room where Indara got her to do the test. Her, and then she hears Soul trying to communicate to the guy, and she sort of makes her way slowly into the cockpit. And she pulls out the dagger. It's like, oh my god, no, what are you doing? Stop it. And also, while we see May move on from that main sort of hole area, we see Basil like, what are you doing?
And he's got the pip droid.
Little Basil, love little Basil.
Yeah, he's very good.
And then we see that like Soul turns around and he's like, I'm gonna go fix the transmission and that. We get this really cool scene actually, where obviously
Soul has so much guilt for what has happened. Like, he's lost his whole team.
He's
like everyone that he's worked with.
But there's also like something going on that he's not telling from happened at Brendok, you know.
Yeah.
And so we see him come here, and obviously he's looking at this screen, and he fixes it, whatever the two like bits, like the two component like systems that aren't working.
Mm-hmm.
He sort of fixes it, and then we get this like little moment where he's like just by himself, and there's like nothing going on, and it's literally a couple of seconds, but you can just see him like he's just angry, the guilt is just eating at him. It's just like bangs on the like table, and he's just like he's really been like eaten up emotionally.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's almost like survivor's guilt, isn't it? He's like, they should have took me, sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's almost like but he doesn't know that though. He doesn't know
No.
that Osha's been taken yet.
No.
But I think it's a case of what happened on Brendok and what happened on Kofar, I think really is eating at him. Yeah, and then I said this to you.
Yeah. Which I didn't pick up on, and you're very clever for doing this.
I'm not.
You are.
I think this scene, particularly, is going under the radar for how important it is into showing how the High Republic era ended and became the prequel era when the Jedi ultimately fell, right? So this is why I think this is important.
Because we've got to remember this is before everything. Like, it's got to lead into the prequel trilogy.
Yeah. And we know as well that we do know from this show that this is like right at the end of the High Republic.
Yeah.
So again, like I said, the High Republic era is ending. It's not like going to immediately end.
No.
But we see it transitioning. So we see Master Venestra. She's chatting to Senator Chuant. Interesting little point. Is a little nod to the Beastie Boys. So there was a character in the Resistance, a pilot, and he was called, I think he's like Happy Chuant or something, and he was like, it's the title of a Beastie Boys album, and then this guy is called like Chuant from another Beastie Boys like album, like I want Chuant, you want stuff like that. So a little nod to that, which is quite cool. But this is the bit. This is so important. Okay, it's so important. Okay. Senator, so she's Vanestra's chatting to Senator Chuant, sorry, who discusses a senator. So obviously not himself, but another senator. I can't remember his name, who isn't the massive fan of a Jedi sort of thing, from what Venestra says, but he wants an external review of the Jedi Order. And this, shall we say, this motion is gaining, looks like it's going to happen because he's getting a lot of support from other senators from the expansion regions and all that. Now, for me, this is important. I think it's overlooked because this shows that where in the High Republic the Jedi have gone from being a separate organization, separate thing, they're not to do with the Senate, the Republic, you know, they work with the Republic and the Senate, but they're not a part of it. They don't answer to it. They don't, you know. This is a senator calling for an outside body, so the Senate basically, reviewing the Jedi as an order, and basically the Jedi are starting to answer to the Senate, not themselves. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, this all has to lead to the prequel trilogy, and in the prequels, constantly in the Clone Wars and everywhere, there's constantly senators working with the Jedi Order. Everything gets passed through Palpatine and can't remember the other guy's name, but like it all gets passed through the senators before anything happens, you know. So I think that this is a good thing we picked up on, because it shows that we're getting to that point, you know, where the senators are getting involved in the Jedi
business.
Discussions and business.
You know, and this will ultimately lead to the sort of decision where the Chancellor, who at the time was Palpatine, appoints. He literally says to Anakin, "I want you to be my representative on the Jedi Council." Like, so this is the Chancellor basically choosing a Jedi to go on the council, you know. Now, as much as the Jedi themselves don't agree with it, and they're like, even Mace Windu says the council chooses its own, you know, its own members, not the Chancellor.
Yeah.
They go through with it because obviously they want Anakin to report back on him. But, you know, this all starts from one of these processes where the Jedi are now answering to the Senate and the Republic. So, big thing, and that's such a good little detail that they've added in this whole show.
It's such a quick little scene as well, and like because it's over a little like hologram, most people wouldn't really take much notice, but it is quite important with regards to like the story of how the Jedi are going. So yeah.
So this clearly is the end of the High Republic, you know. Very interesting in my opinion. Then we sort of see I meant to forget to get a picture of it. We see Osha and Qimir walking back to the cave, and we see him be like, she was like, "Were you a Jedi or something?" And he was like, "A long time ago." I was like, "Oh, okay." So Qimir was a former Jedi.
Yes.
Now that leads back to one of my dark theories later, and I really hope they don't ruin this character, but it makes sense.
But we'll get on to that in a bit.
Yes. So we sort of see him, you know, say that, you know, he used to be a Jedi. And even still, like, we see Osha sort of holding on to the fact that, like, Master Soul is the good guy. Because I meant to mention as well earlier, when she confronts him at the pool, she says to him, "Did you kill Master Soul?" And then he's says like no. And then
she's like, "Did you kill May?" And he's like, "No, but interesting you ask about Soul first."
So she's still got this belief that Soul is good and coming for her, because she then says, "Master Soul is so powerful in the Force, he'll come get me."
I mean, you've got to see it from Moshe's point of view, right? So obviously May is her sister, but she knows that May has killed Indara and Kalnaka and was it Master Torvin? Master Torvin.
Yep.
She's killed, well, she didn't kill Kalnaka, but it looks like she's killed Kalnaka.
Yes.
But anyway, she
knows she's killed.
She thinks of her as a murderer. Like, even Master Soul said to her, like, "But she's still your sister." And she's like, "I don't care, to be honest. Like, she's a murderer. She's killed all these people. She's done a wrong thing. So I don't want anything to do with her. She's a bad person." And then this Qimir, obviously he was working with May. He was the one that gave her the poison to give to Master Torvin. And then obviously he's turned out to be this Sith. He's killed Jackie, who was Osha's best friend. He's killed Yord, which Osha was
friends with.
Yeah, they were both younglings on the Jedi. Obviously he's killed all these other Jedi, which she may not have known very well, but still, it's like, you know, you're bad. why are you killing all these people? And then you just left Sol there on his own. Like, what? So she's just there like, right, May isn't any good because she's been killing all these Jedi. You aren't any good because you've been killing all these Jedi, Qimir. And, you know, she still sees Sol as like her, I don't know, someone she looks up to, because ever since she was with like the witches, all she wanted to be was a Jedi. And the way she sees it is Sol is the one that, you know, chose her, and he was like, what do you want? Do you want to be a Jedi? Do you want to stay being a witch with your sister and everything? You know, he was the one that really, you know, opened up to her and got her to come out of her shell a bit, and she probably sees him as like this father figure to her. Mm-hmm. So in her mind, she's like, Sol, he can't do any wrong, you know, like, and you know, she's not gonna, well, I don't know, she doesn't want to take advice from these bad people around her, and the person she cares about the most is Sol. Like, even when she was talking to Jackie, she's like, oh, maybe I'll come back here to Coruscant and we'll talk about stories about Master Sol and stuff. Like, he's like a dad to her, you know, and yeah.
No, you spot on.
She cares most about him.
Yep.
More than her own sister.
Yeah.
So yeah. End of my TED talk.
No, you're spot on. And then I think the next scene actually, I think, is on the ship again.
Yeah.
And we see Sol sort of again tried communicating with the guy, nothing. Because we didn't actually mention, by the way, I forgot to mention this. During this conversation, Jedi Mog, I think his name is,
yes,
interrupts, and it's basically like we've had a transmission from Sol saying all the team's basically being wiped out, sort of thing. And then Venestra's like assembled a sort of rescue team.
Yeah. She's like, we're going.
Yeah. And he's like, how do you know? Well, he's like, how do you know where he is?
And she's like,
because I sent him there. And then obviously we get the bit with like them chatting, and we then go to the ship, I believe it is. So obviously, all of a sudden, the sort of power goes down.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, sorry. So she's in. So Sol is still trying to contact the
Jedi.
The Jedi, and isn't getting anywhere. So Osha then comes. Oh, sorry, May comes in, and he gives her like a hug, and he's like, yes. "You saved us, Osha.
Yeah.
Like you saved us," sort of thing, and you know, like he has.
And everyone is saying like, how does he not know that's May and all this? But
I think he knows.
Yeah, like he probably knows, and he's just not making it obvious because he wants the perfect time to like catch her out, you know. But also, even if he didn't think it was Osha to start with, like his mind is probably very clouded. Like he's filled with so much guilt at the minute, with like, you know, he's lost his whole squad. Like he went in there with what, like 8 other Jedi?
7
other Jedi.
And he's lost Jackie. And he's lost Jackie.
Yes. Lost Jackie. You know, he still doesn't. Well, if he thinks that's May, then he doesn't know where Osha is.
Yeah. But yeah, so we see this, and then obviously May tries getting him to talk a bit more.
Yeah.
And she doesn't.
Nope.
And again, we also see Basil.
Little Basil.
And he takes sort of Pip to this like little workstation.
Yes.
And he like plugs him in, and is like, okay, like has a little chat with him. And then at the cave, I think this is later on this one, but we'll come back to that.
Okay.
So we see him working on the helmet, and he's working on the Kurtosis helmet, and he's like obviously fixed it because obviously Jackie broke the like back of it.
She did.
So you can see this like fix here that he's added to it. And he tells May, sorry, Osha, I keep getting confused, my god. And he tells her that like,
Because she's wearing dark clothes.
and she actually no, because it is this bit, because she sees the scar,
Yes.
and then we see her ask, "How did you get the scar?" And she's like, he basically says that someone, like, someone who threw him away.
Yeah.
And she's like a Jedi.
Mm.
So he doesn't confirm it, but like he does like a little bit of a look. And she asks like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "The power of 2."
Mm.
So obviously we know that that's the witch's like saying.
Yeah.
But it's also the Sith power of 2. So we see that, and he tells Osha about the helmet.
Yes.
He's like Cortosis, handy against a lightsaber, but also it's a force sensory deprivation helmet.
Mm-hmm.
So like it basically blocks out everything and brings you just connected to the force. And I'll go into like the bit of the helmet at the back, like at the end, but like basically saying that, you know, like what the Jedi Temple have, or where they have the like younglings have the helmets on, and it just connects them to the force. Yeah. So we then see that he like offers May Osha some food, and she's like, "No, I don't want it." So she sort of goes outside, and she's still got his lightsaber, and he's like, oh, also he does say to Osha when they were like on the beach, he says, "If you want to swim out to the ship, you can, or you can wait till the tide goes out." You know, so the fact that she stayed is quite interesting.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You've come here to do something," and then he like puts the lightsaber up against him, and he's like, "Do it, like
turn the lightsaber on then."
Yeah, and he's like, "The Jedi threw you away." She's like, "They didn't. I left." And he's like, "Why are you not a Jedi then?" Like, and
she's just like,
she rages.
Filled with rage.
And we see that, like, you know, he's really testing her with it.
He is. He's pushing her to the edge.
Yeah. And like she finally sort of snaps a bit.
She does.
And she like ignites the lightsaber and like pushes it up against him. And he says, you know,
I can't remember what she says. Something like, "I wasn't good enough.
I failed."
Or I failed. Yeah.
And we see that like he's like, once you've lost everything, you know, you've become free or something like that. And he like gently puts like his arm on her, like sort of helps her,
because she seems a bit like shaky with the blade.
So, you know, we've got this little bit of tension between them, but she's clearly not trying to end him. She's
just a bit filled with rage.
So we see Vanestra meet like Mog and the other rescue, and she's got like her sort of battle robes, and they're talking to a Selkath that we've seen in the show before. But who were first introduced in the Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic game, which was quite cool. And then we see Mog be like, "You're joining us, Master." She's like, "Yep, I'm coming." And Mog's like,
"You don't like hyperspace.
You get nauseous in hyperspace." And she's like, "I don't get nauseous. I find it unsettling." So it's like that is a reference to her High Republic sort of past, where like she would get these visions when she was in hyperspace. So she's very connected to the Force and that. So yeah. Then really little cool moment that I've just found out watching a breakdown video. So we see her ship in the background,
Oh yeah.
and it's called the Cantaros,
Mm.
and it's like, where have I heard that name before?
Mm.
It's named the Cantaros after her former Padawan, Emery Cantaros. Oh,
Oh.
that's, if you know the High Republic, I don't want to go into it because I don't want to spoil things if you've not read it properly, but that's quite sad and quite meaningful that, you know, her ship's called that. Yeah, just. And then I think we next go to the ship.
Yes.
And we see, obviously, the lights go out, and May goes to do the power.
She does.
And then Basil comes out of nowhere.
Basil's got Pip there.
And he's like, oh,
Yeah.
oh. And then he sort of runs over to her, like, grabs her leg and then, like, stands on her foot and then runs off. And then little Pip squirts some, like, oil or, like, muck in her face.
Yeah, because Pip's there, like, charging or something.
Yeah, he's in, like, one of the systems. I think it's, like, one from the other, like, little valves or something.
And he
Anyway,
squirts some oil at her face.
She's
And
like,
she screams. It's almost like Home Alone.
Yeah, like, ah.
Yeah.
And then she, like, picks up Pip and she's like, right, putting you back in the factory settings. And resets him.
Yeah.
So obviously we get that, and then later on when the powers obviously come back, we see May like going to answer the like call of the Jedi, like, hello, are you there? And as she goes to speak, we see Master Soul like, because he has a little chat with her as well before this.
Oh yeah, he does.
And he mentions the Pip, and he's like, You've got your Pip droid back.
Yeah.
But she can clearly see that the red lights are on it, and it's like she seems a bit off. Yeah. And I was like, I think he knows that this is. And she's like, what haven't you told me basically about Brendok? And then she goes to the cockpit to answer the thing, and
he stuns her.
And then we see Basil be like, yeah. Well done, Soul.
Yay.
I told you she was a bad one. One little Basil to the rescue.
And then there's, like, on the comms, there's a Jedi voice, and it's like, Master Soul, leave your transponder on. And then he turns it off.
And
then he gets out of there.
He's like, oh, hey, what have you done or something? And then it's like, they shoot into hyperspace.
And then Venestra's there, like, a second later.
It's like, Jesus Christ, nearly had a collision again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so then we see Venestra. And she's on the planet with the other Jedi.
She lands on Kofar.
And they're like, she's like, this way.
Yeah.
And they go down, and then we see May sort of like looking at the helmet.
May. Osha.
Sorry. I'm getting confused. You see Osha looking at like the helmet.
Yes.
So it's like, yeah, it's almost like cooling her almost. And then we get this like sort of jump scare. Jackie. I was like, oh my god. And we see like the Jedi looking here. And
Venestra is using Force Echo, like in Jedi Fallen Order.
But it is called, it has like psychrometry. I think that's like the technical term for it.
Okay.
But it is basically like Force Echo.
And she's like reliving all the events that happened.
So we sort of hear the lightsabers while sort of she goes past Jackie and Yord. And then she comes across like a load of the slain within the trees. And we hear the like lightsabers like tsh, tsh, tsh.
Yeah.
And then
so she can see what happened.
Yeah, and then she comes out, and there's like, you know, the bits where the trails of dirt where she put, and you hear Soul being like, Osha, run! And then, so then Mog comes out like,
what's happened here?
Well, Venestra says, what do you think's happened here? And Mog's like, an attack. There was a fire or something. Then he's like, then there was an attack. His movements are erratic, and basically everything that a Sith is. And he still doesn't technically believe that it's like a Sith.
Yeah.
He's like, why would sort of Master Soul do this or something? And
Yeah, he's like, do you think Master Soul did this? And she's like,
that's a big accusation. Like,
yeah.
that's bad, like a bold accusation or something.
Yeah.
And then we see the light whip
Yes.
in action.
Because there's one of those like bug woodlouse things with wings, and she senses it and she just goes. Whoosh.
She like
She don't even look behind her. She just
forces
back
out
there.
her lightsaber, like
it's-
turns it on, and then it's like whoosh,
chopped in.
wicked thing. I'm so glad that we got to see it in live action again, because obviously, if you've read the High Republic stuff, you know it is a very cool lightsaber.
Yeah.
So, we
And
see
this
that.
is not the first time we've seen a light whip, because there's light whips in Legends.
And Clone Wars as well.
Yes. So if anyone is like, oh my god, Star Wars ruined, Disney ruined Star Wars with this light whip, what is this? I've seen jokes about people saying it needs Viagra and stuff. It's it's a blimmin' real thing in Star Wars. This is not new, and it's in canon now, and it has been in canon for ages with the High Republic books as well, because she's always had this light whip saber.
Yep.
So, yeah. Don't be saying Disney ruined Star Wars, guys, because it didn't. And I think this lightsaber is really cool.
Yep. And Moggs basically says something like, what could have caused this or something. And Venestra sort of says to herself almost like something to tip the scales.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we see, obviously...
Which I think she means by that. Like, obviously, in the Force, there's this balance. And, you know, the Jedi, they're, like, really good. And then there's this person that's just come in and tipped the scales towards the bad side, and he's wiping out all these Jedi. So there you go.
Yep.
I think that's what she means.
Now, again, there's lots of, shall we say, rumours and speculation. Now, this is one that, again, when I first sort of saw it, I believe, and lots of people have agreed with it. So we learn, obviously, earlier in the episode that Qimir used to be a former Jedi.
Yeah.
A long time ago. His scar on his back almost looks like a whip mark. I reckon he's a former Padawan of Venestra that's basically like lost himself, and she basically gave him that scar. And I think it might end up being a battle between Qimir and Venestra, because clearly she is a big part of this story, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, I kind of want to see Venestra come out on top. I like Qimir as a thing, as a character, and I think Manny is playing him really well. But I really don't want them to ruin Venestra's character of her being like,
no,
oh, she was a bad Jedi. Like, no, she's not. She's
not
an
a
incredible
bad Jedi. And also, I know she's got a purple lightsaber, and people say that, like, you know, people with purple lightsabers, like Mace Windu and that, it's like they have elements of bad in them.
It's not.
But yeah, I think she's really cool, and I hope they don't make her end up being like the bad guy in this whole story.
That's not fair on Venestra, because she's such like a well-developed character from like the High Republic. So
yeah.
Also, we then get to go back to the ship, and we see May sort of wake up, and she's like tied up.
Mm-hmm.
And we see her look over at Sol, and Sol's like, I've been thinking about, I've had like 16 years
to think about
what I would say to you
mm-hmm.
if I ever had the chance. So he's like, because she's like, let me go. He's like, I've got no plan on harming you. So let me go then.
I'm going to tell you what happened.
You're going to listen.
Yeah.
So quite interesting what's going to happen there.
Mm-hmm.
Me and you both think the next episode we're going to get flashbacks.
Oh, yeah.
To like what actually happened on Brenda.
From Soul's point of view, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we sort of, after that, we see like obviously the helmet, and it's sort of May's Osha is really curious about it.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes over and she's like touching it.
She wants to be the next Darth Smilus.
Well,
possibly.
she's leaning towards it possibly, but she is curious about it, especially the Force deprivation point, or the like sensory deprivation thing of it.
Mm-hmm.
So she then tries it on, and she puts the helmet on.
So trying the Hasbro Black Series one.
Well, this is the actual one, but the Black Series will be very similar to this.
Yes.
But what I love about this scene, we see the helmet go on her, but we also see it from the inside. And we basically see that this tiny little slit you can't really see out of, like tiniest thing. So basically you're blind in it. All the sound is gone.
All you can hear is your own breathing, and you're relying on
your connection
your
to the Forces.
Yeah, well, not even your senses, because you can't hear, you can't see.
You're connected
can't
to the
smell.
Force.
So you're relying on the Force to get you through.
So Qimir, when he was fighting all these Jedi and beating them and doing all this, he was doing it blind. He really couldn't. He couldn't see at all, and he was just. That's how powerful in the Force that he is. He was using the Force to control his movements, basically.
Yeah.
A bit like Luke with the blaster down.
Mm-hmm.
So
Kanan when he was blind.
Yeah, the Force. That's how powerful he is in the Force. So he's a Sith. And it just ends with like her breathing in the mask, and that's it. I was like, "It's a good way to finish." So, yeah.
I was just like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah.
She put the helmet on, but like this is Osha we're talking about. She's been good the whole story.
I think it's curiosity.
Yeah.
But
curiosity killed the cat.
Like, be fair, if you were in that situation, you would try to help her on, wouldn't you? Like,
oh, little Black Series helmet.
I mean, I would. I'd try it on. But yeah, I thought it was a really good episode. I did call it in terms of like it's going to be very Osha and Qimir, back to May and Sol, back to Qimir, and I called it, but the dialogue and the way that it was done, fantastic, really good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next 2 episodes.
Yes,
because next week I feel like we're actually going to find out what happened that night on Brendok, and the final episode we might get some really big battles.
Go on, Vanessa.
I feel like finales are always like on the edges, like,
Yeah.
So
I'm curious, because you never know. Are we going to get like a season 2 of it? I know a lot of people have been like, no, don't do it. But I really like it. I think it's a really good show.
Yes.
I like the ideas and the stuff that they're bringing into the show as well. Like I said, that whole little, I know it was tiny, but that whole little mention of a senator saying there's a motion for there to be an external review of the Jedi. That little line I find huge, really important.
Yeah.
And it's just going over a lot of people's heads, and that's what I think makes this show so good.
Yeah.
So
I think it's really good. I'm really enjoying the show. And I know you are as well.
Yeah.
And yeah. Love it.
Yeah. Troopers of the week.
Yes.
So my trooper of the week is quite cool. So he goes by the name Protocol Cosplay.
Protocol Cosplay.
And he does like a Hondo cosplay. And he went to a Comic-Con recently where he met Jim Cummings. And Jim is obviously the guy who does the voice of Hondo. So he's met him as Hondo, and he's like, I am definitely the Hondo Anaka. And then Jim Cummings in the Hondo voice is like, no, I am Hondo Anaka. It's like, it's very cool, and I just was like, that is a funny one, and like Jim Cummings seeing that guy as Hondo must be like, that's cool.
Yeah. And I think like he probably gets it a lot when people get like autographs where they're dressed up as Hondo, but like you can tell it's Hondo as soon as he like opens his mouth. It's like, nah, that's the voice.
But I will say as well, like, shout out to Jim Cummings, by the way, because it's not just like Hondo that he's done that's like famous. You know, he's like the voice of Winnie the Pooh. You know, iconic voice. There's so many roles I could tell you that like Jim Cummings has done, but obviously being a Star Wars fan, I'd love him as Hondo. I think he's brilliant.
So mine is someone called Kunai Cosplay, and she cosplays as Ahsoka, and she's recreated this shot of Rosario in the little speeder, but like in her cosplay.
I want one of those little speeders.
Yeah, like I don't know if she's made that or what, but like really cool cosplay. Like the makeup and everything is spot on. So she's got like Ahsoka the White cosplay.
Very cool.
But she also did like when Ahsoka first came back in like The Mandalorian.
Very cool.
Very cool. So that is Kunai Cosplay on Instagram. Shout
out to you. Well done. Lovely cosplay, by the way.
Yeah, and really cool recreation of Rosario's pics.
Yeah. So, you know what's next? Meme of the week.
Like we need a meme of the week song.
Yes.
What's wrong with C-3PO? You told me I needed to fix him. He keeps calling you master, and I don't recall you being one.
And then in the back, you can just see him in the back. So I thought that was quite funny. A little bit silly, but like, I like the funny memes. They're the best ones.
Although I feel like Anakin always calls him just 3PO.
3PO?
What's wrong with 3PO? He told me I need to fix him.
Well, yeah, but he does call him like Master.
And I don't recall like, you be
Master Annie. But yeah, I thought that was quite funny.
Yes. I like that one.
But yeah.
I love the meme of the week.
Yeah. It's fun seeing them. There's some funny ones out there.
Yeah. There's a lot of Star Wars memes out there.
That's a lot. That's going to be it for this week. We hope you had enjoyed it. Listen to our breakdown. We'll be back
next
sort of Thursday. Yep. It's going to be fun. We're doing episode 7 of The Acolyte. Coming to the end of it, but it's again, it's just been so good.
Yes.
Like we haven't got another show.
Yeah.
Like whereas when we finished Bad Batch, we had like another show sort of straight away to break down. We don't have that. Like give us something.
I mean, we've got some like games coming out. We've got
Outlaws coming next month. Can't wait for that. That's going to be good.
And they've also released Bounty Hunter. Well, they're going to release Bounty Hunter, which is the Jango Fett game from like.
Yes, they've basically enhanced it, so the graphics are better. It now works on like,
on PS5.
Yeah, so it's like a PS5 version of it, like they've done with the other sort of older games, which is quite cool. So that'll be fun. But yeah, we will see you guys Thursday, and have a good week. May the force be with you.